What up, Flowmies? It's time for another edition of the ITF Flowcast, and this week we have another edition of Gabe's Corner. Now, I don't claim to know everything, but I do know a thing or two, and it's those things that I like to share with you in Gabe's Corner. Now, for those who may not know, Gabe's Corner actually started as an article that I write for the American Window Cleaner magazine. I was asked years ago to just write something, put it together, and it just kind of evolved into this little opinion piece, basically. And it's one of my favorite things that I get to do. And sometimes there's articles that are very personal to me, and I feel like it has information that really I'd like to share with others. And that's what I wanted to do with you today. I want to base this Gabe's Corner on an actual Gabe's Corner article that I wrote for the American Window Cleaner magazine. And this is in the current edition right now. And it's called Business Growth: Is Your Business an Instrument or an Asset? And I'm not going to go into the entire article. It's a little bit long. But if you are not a subscriber to the American Window Cleaner magazine, I highly recommend that you sign up. It's got tons of articles written by experienced window cleaners like myself, just really good advice, good insights into situations that perhaps you've not really thought about, but also it's just a really good source of information for different products and ideas, and just really sign up. And plus they got cool stickers. So that's another reason just to sign up all on its own. But with this article about is your business an instrument or an asset, I wrote this because I found that window cleaners kind of come into different categories, right? So you've got those who are it's just kind of a means to an end. They started a business. They don't really plan on doing that business for, more than 5 years. It's a way to make some money right now, but if something else better came along, they'd move over to it. So again, nothing wrong with having that if that's your attitude towards your business. Again, it's a tool, right? It's something that it should serve a purpose. Others are really view their business as a professional. They want to grow it. They want to have 15 trucks. They want to have 20 trucks. They have a very growth mentality. This is the instrument in which they're going to make a lot of money. And same thing. There's nothing wrong with that attitude either, if that's what you choose to do. But then there's people in the middle. And I'm one of the people who are in this middle group. And that's really who I wrote this article for. When I started cleaning windows, I did not foresee, if you had asked me back then, I wouldn't have, and he said, are you going to be cleaning windows in 23 years? I would have said, no, by that time I would have found something else, or someone would have offered me a job or whatever. I hadn't thought that far ahead. I just knew I had an opportunity. I took it. I was making decent money. I struggled, it was difficult in the beginning for sure, like anybody. But I saw the potential in it. And at the time it was serving a means to, and it provided for my family, allowed me to do some other things, volunteer work and such that I really wanted to do. And so it was great. But as life goes on, right. And, it kept working and my business kept growing. Then I had a daughter and then my expenses went up. We ended up moving in from an apartment to a house. And all of a sudden, the business was no longer what I needed it to be. So that's really when I started growing my business. And so we grew it. It started doing well. I started hiring. And now I'm 48 and I'm 23 years into my business. And now I'm like, well, how much longer can I physically do this work? So I have to start lining up my business to get to the point where it can take care of my family, because I'm not going to be set to retire, right at 63 or whatever the retirement age is. I'm going to need to have the business do more for me. So the idea of, is your business an instrument or an asset? In this, I use the illustration of a musical instrument, right? You have people who kind of are like a one-man band, and they can do, you've seen the videos of them. They've got cymbals in their knees, and they're playing guitar while they're strumming on a harmonica, and they've got all these things going on at the same time. And I think that's how a lot of us are. We run the whole thing, and we do this for our entire lives. But then what happens is, again, we reach the point, either age catches up to us, something physical happens, either we get an injury or our body wears out in a certain area and we're unable to continue the work. Our family's health happens. Maybe when our wife or our husband or our child or someone needs full-time care, and now you have to give that time to your child. Expenses happen. I mean, there's just so many things that happen in life that when you are the one-man band, that puts a lot of stress on you for that business to become what you need it to be. So when it gets to that point, some people let their business go. Some people will sell it to another window cleaner with a huge discount. And others just they have to file for bankruptcy, and everything just kind of falls apart. So I wanted to address those people because again, I don't think you have to hire to be a successful window cleaner, and I don't think that needs to be the path for every single person. However, for there is a group of people, and I was in that group for many years, who are kind of going into the future with their business, and they're not really thinking ahead. They're not planning for the future, and they're kind of almost in a where they're in a space where they feel like almost like, well, it's not, nothing bad's going to happen or nothing going to change. We're going to work it out when we get there. When right now is really when you need to plan. And so your business, it can either be an instrument that you use or an asset that provides value to yourself and to your family. And that's what this article is about. So again, I'm not going to read the whole article, but there are just a few points that I wanted to touch on, because as you get to that point, the last thing we need is for someone who has to quit, they cannot run their business and the way that they had been, and they lose the value of that business. It just dissipates, it just goes away. I mean, what a loss for all, you may have worked 15, 20 years in this business, and one injury and all of a sudden it's poof, it's gone, or you're selling it for a very small amount of the value of what it really is. So what are some things that you can do to make your business an instrument or an asset? So first, let's talk about what I mean by it being an instrument. So as a musical instrument, you've got it in front of you, you're playing it. So when you're playing that instrument, you are the one playing it. If you're not playing it, if you put it away, then there's no music, right? It's just not, it only operates when you're the one using that. And so our one-man band, as we spoke about earlier, that one-man band only operates when the one-man band is actually working, right? Whereas an asset is something that can continually run even apart from you. So we might compare an asset to an orchestra, right? So you've got all of these other people playing these instruments, and so the music is continuing on. Even though you may be the conductor, you're no longer playing the instrument. The value in the music is in the fact that you have this vast array of talented people who are making the music. But that also does is that opens up the ability to be more diverse in the type of music that you play, right? A one-man band, as cool as it is to watch the videos when you see them playing it, they're not going to be able to have the depth of sound and volume and feeling and warmth that comes from watching an orchestra, right? So your business being an orchestra is when you get it to the point where it is working for you, meaning that even if you go on vacation, the business is continuing to function apart from you, right? And there's a lot of different ways in which that can be done. But if you don't have that mindset of, I want to grow my business into an asset, it's very hard to get to that point because it does involve hiring. And we'll talk about that. Actually, that's probably a good segue to get into the hiring portion of my article. So if you are afraid to hire, and it could be a number of valid reasons, for instance, just the headaches of hiring. I mean, I just had a guy quit just on me just recently, and now I'm trying to scramble to fill the spots that they had. So it can be a lot of pressure if you have a bad employee. Maybe he brings down the culture of your entire crew, or he gives you bad reviews. He makes bad decisions, or worse, he damages property, either of the customers of yours. I mean, those are real stress factors that you have to consider when you hire. However, the fact is, businesses all over the world run on employees. And so we sometimes can be so precious about hiring, about our company, that we miss out on the opportunities that come with hiring. And certainly there's a lot of factors you have to consider, but making the decision to start hiring so that your business can run apart from you is the first step in changing your business from an asset, or from an instrument to an asset. Now, the second step is, once you have employees, obviously you're not going to be able to watch them 24/7. So you have to institute systems, right? And so when an orchestra is being led by the conductor, It's not just the guidance they receive. Each musician has sheet music in front of them. So you could think of systems as having sheet music. Now, of course, the benefit of being a one-man band is you're doing everything. So you don't really need the sheet music in front of you. You're kind of in fact, that would inhibit you as a musician if you had to look at sheet music while you're playing all of these instruments. But as an employer, if you want to have your business be like an orchestra, each person has to know what their roles are. Now they have freedom within those roles to use their talents and to help your company. But that's where the work is. If you don't have systems in place, having your business as an asset is going to be difficult. So you can definitely, there's people you can talk to, even in ITF, there's people you can pick their brain to help you develop systems, or you can pay some company to help you in doing that as well. But however you go about it, if you want your business to be an asset, systems have to be in place so that you do not have to be a micromanager of your business. That employees have their clear direction, know what to do, and then have some type of boundaries to keep them in that role. So that's very important. The next thing is structure, right? So the point about structure is, how do we have our business set up, right? One of the worst feelings in the world is when your favorite band breaks up, right? Sometimes, it's acrimonious, sometimes it's mutual, but when that's your favorite band and they're never going to play together again, it can be emotional, right? You can get really upset because that's probably some of your favorite memories that you had as a kid, was listening to those bands. So the thing about it, though, is with an orchestra, it's always the name of the orchestra, like the Philharmonic, right? Or these famous orchestras that you hear about. You don't hear about the individual talent within them. Now, sometimes they will have special special concerts where they do highlight one musician, and it may be whatever instrument they happen to play, and that's not uncommon, absolutely not. But as a whole, we don't know the name of the people on the harp or on the drum or on the trumpet. They're just there. And so when one of them quits, a spot opens up, someone comes in, but it does not affect the brand of that orchestra. And that's the same thing with your business. When you go from a sole proprietor to being a company that hires, what you have to remember is now your focus should be on building a brand. When you're the one man, excuse me, when you're the one-man band, you are the focus, right? You're selling yourself. People are hiring because you're going to be the one to come into their home, and they want you there. You develop a beautiful relationship with your customers, and that's really, really important. But what happens is when you're starting to grow from you're having your business be an instrument to an asset, there has to be a transition from you being the focal point of your company to your brand, meaning that whoever comes to your customer's house, they know they have been trained by you, that there's certain standards that person has to meet, and that no matter what happened, whether it's you or whether it's someone else, they're going to be happy and satisfied with your work. That's not an easy thing to do. That involves a lot of training. That involves a lot of oversight, and helping your employees know what's expected of them, and hiring the right people who have the character to be able to carry that out. But most importantly, your branding is important, right? You have to make sure that your brand comes across, that we are an organization. We're not a single person. We are an organization, and that this organization will meet your window cleaning needs, not only just now, but into the future. So working to make your business have the proper structure is one way in which you can help your business go from being just a tool, an instrument, to an asset. So those are just some points from the article I wanted to bring out. But I wanted to end this just by saying, everyone has a right to run their business as they do, and everyone has different circumstances. Everyone knows. I know some people who are like, well, yeah, when my business is done, it's done. I can walk away from it. I have no problem. I'll just tell my customers I'm no longer cleaning windows, and you lose that value. Perfectly fine with that. Hey, if that's your role, I'm not going to say you're wrong. That fits what your situation is. What I will say is that there are much more people who rely on their business to provide for themselves, their family, not only just they're having a roof over the head and food on the table, but their health needs. Not only that, but they may have employees who have needs as well. When you get to that point, you have to start thinking for the future, because when the future is here, it's too late. There's not much that you're going to be able to do. And the last thing you need is for an emergency to happen and you have nowhere for your business to go, as it ceases becoming an asset, and it could even become a liability if you're not careful. So you know your circumstances, you know where you need to be. If this is something that you need to focus on, please read the article, go through it. But also, again, there's people here in ITF, mentors, who are here to help you with that transition if you so choose. So just make a post in ITF and on Facebook, and I know that you'll get a lot of good answers and guidance on that. Plus, you can maybe find a personal mentor to help you as well. So anyways, that's it, Flowmies. Thanks so much for your time. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope your business is doing well. And thanks again for everyone who supported the drawing for the IWCA convention in Brazil. We had such a wonderful response from that, and that's all because you guys are so generous. Also, I will be remiss if we don't thank the vendors who participate in that. We're going to be putting a post together soon that thanks all of them for their assistance. But you guys take care, keep going well, and as always, flow on.